We're gonna get started. First I just want to thank Current. I want to thank Michael, Andrew, and Deborah for hosting. They were really awesome and super supportive to let us do this kind of weird, goofy show. First up is Bob O'Brien. Okay. First up is Bob O'Brien. You guys know him. He curates the Worms reading series. So Bob. I think it's not too goofy. I think it's just goofy enough. We click like a camera, like that bird on the internet. We are Terminator 2 sunglass thumbs-upping suicide. We perch and are perched upon in the great American statuesque, clicking at a laminated future. We are unfrozen, sweaty, bearded, saying, where wife, children, what year, what iPhone generation, slept too long. We are whistling the melody of some discontinued ringtone, humming and whistling and clicking like a camera toward the precipice of a YouTube majestic. Our names are weird and infinitely Googleable. We play our arms like antlers under a t-shirt. We look like a much larger animal. We stagger unknowable like an animal of blind power. We eat pollen with insectoid silverware and vomit Eastern Europe in botanic gardens. We are frequently hunted. Our bodies make gorgeous trophies. We used to walk around barefoot over whatever, broken bottles, rocks. It was all uncut grass to us. Even now the earth thinks sweetly of our naked footsteps and comes flowers. We spent all morning duct taping garbage bags together in sheets. We came here with fistfuls of petals looking to get wasted on rainwater. We are never so angelic as when we are drunk and accusing. We hallucinate villainy, our temporal lobe epileptic. We call mom to come down from the bad audio, high school, listening to punk and reading the Tao Te Ching. Here's one where Ray Charles decapitates his girlfriend. Here's one where Johnny Cash goes to jail for picking flowers. We are the flowers, and we are the girlfriend. We are the rich man's tragic camel. We were enlightened for 2 weeks once, wondering about the weather. We sit at abandoned bus stops with $3,000, all our money in our pockets, waiting on the permanent transformation. We transduce, lit up and electric. We continually process cultural radiation. Magazines radiate Brad Pitt, beaded Silverbeard, secret text messages to ex-girlfriends. Please, Brad, stay together for the children. Angelina is begging you. This is years ago now. God grant Jennifer Aniston peace. Again, this is years ago. Our poems are ethical. They are usually left unwritten, usually spent on evenings of sex or movies or other communions. Or else we scribble all night and end up with nothing but one lousy adjective and just sit there unpublishable, repeating radiant, radiant, radiant. And yet the moon tunes ocean waves to the secret frequency of universe binding eros, which radiates constantly from our bedroom windows. And Walt Whitman says, whoever you are, now I place my hand upon you, that you be my poem. And we say, okay, yes, good. We were unsure about Emily Dickinson until Chris Toll, who called her a pure light, showed us the best ones. 491, where she says, love is like life, merely longer. 660, where she says, as the sea exceeds its unremembered drop, their water equally. 976, where she says, death is a dialogue, dissolve, says death, the spirit, sir, I have another trust, etc. And 162, 249, 376, 472, 561, 773, 1017, 1075, 1123, 1197, 1255, 1445, 1472, 1519, 1548, 1599, 1695. Thank you. We are romancing giant human skeletons for you. Stay unsainted in your death retirement years. We are statues. We become famous for crying. Our heads and arms are often missing. We are soft statues. We are in the middle of something. You are the ecstasy of St. Teresa. We are the rape of the Sabine women. We are huddled together, trembling statues, waiting for the bus. Our absent hearts warm the hands of gods. We are quick. We are as immaterial as words. We are warm statues. We are cooling. We sign the true name of God, Waheguru, in our poem, hoping it will save it. We need all the help we can get. Even among worms, we are ignominious worms. This is a shameless appeal for grace, a prayer. This is an invitation for any and all bird shit to please fall on our heads. Waheguru times 1,000. So that's the bulk of the book that I have back there. I want to say, when you're going to look at these 6 books back there, and you're going to notice that mine is the skinniest. But I had cancer this summer, and I couldn't finish the poem to the length I thought I was going to finish it to. My book is next to Joseph's book. I was planning on putting out a book kind of as thick as Joseph's book. If you put your hand on Joseph's book and then kind of move it over to mine, that's the width of my cancer this summer. And that was the price that we all paid for my cancer. If anyone was in this room being like, I like that poem, but it was a little short. That's what I was assuming. Here's the second poem of that book. It's called We Jam Amphibious. I also noticed that a lot of people had turned their phones to silent. I think that's really dangerous. I think you guys could be getting really important calls. Keep your phone silent. This isn't called We Jam Amphibious. This is called We Were There. We remember Oswego walking the breakwall to the lighthouse with a coded message for the bull of heaven. We went to Savannah and couldn't shake thoughts of Orquith, city of bone from Doom Patrol, the dark hanging Spanish mosses of foreign permanence dissolving our primary reality. In Marquette, we drank up Lake Superior, broke our foot, and had to spit it out all over a hiking trail with our head between our legs so we didn't pass out. We exploded a transformer in Alabama. We peeled out in a school bus while a field was scorched in a black instant. In Missoula, we smoldered in our gas masks, riding bicycles past faggot-hating cowboys guarding the places we wanted to eat at. I remember in our old lives as dinosaurs, we scaly and feathers, walking these streets before there were streets here, but looking for something to eat just like we are now. We salted the earth of the Fertile Crescent. We cried in Mecca when Muhammad smashed the idols and widowed the bringer of rain. Time is nothing. We press our lips to the mummy's dust flesh. We were enlightened for 2 weeks of winter in Providence after thinking very uptight thoughts about the weather. We looked for money in Portland and found none. We were naked in New Orleans, baptized and made perfect sacrifice to a dangerous water slide. We arrived in Denver to snow and were beaten loving restless by kids who have maybe never seen the ocean and who knew nothing of the butterfly massacres we perpetrated in the Northwest. We imagined monkeys dropping petals on the butterflies in their death poses, the bowed heads of police officers, archaeologists discovering faces in their mummified remains. Later, force-fed, drunk-grilled pineapple, 4 a.m, miles from the woot-wooting Chads and Tiffany's who congregate downtown. Baltimore, gorgeous blob of humanity, all celebrating the strangeness of being. We dreamed a funeral for every blade of grass. But it's whatever, because Waheguru bought us a dream home beyond transmigration, and we're there now, waiting to be trampled by the rush of saints. And then this is the last part of the book. So no one needs to get it. This is the whole thing. Well, there are little epigraphs in there, some pretty sick quotes. Well, and this is all quotes. Almost. You guys like quotes? People love quotes. The internet 2.0 is just so all about it. And so that's why I know that this poem is going to do it for me. This is called We Jam Amphibious. Dorothy Lasky said, "There's a lot we have to do in this century to make our world better and to make our world better for poets." Chris Toll said, "Everything we do at every moment is critically important. Every deed at every moment and every day should be a living prayer. If we pray hard enough, we will have a new world, and we will have it sooner rather than later." Alta said, "We do on occasion get ripped off, which always hurts since we want to live as if the new world has been born." The Scarecrow said to Jack Pumpkinhead, "And so, as we differ from all ordinary people, let us become friends." The Lunar Constitution Bill of Rights, adopted 1980, said, "Only the head cheese may declare war on any landlords, beings, or other space entities, and this will only be done if the need arises to procure foreign aid. You have the right to be guided by your heart." Bob Kaufman said, "We feel the need to express ourselves somewhat more abominably than others, and a fish with frog's eyes, creation is perfect." Jeremy Huvenar sort of implied that we are the unlegislated acknowledgers of the world. There's a Lesser Gonzalez Alvarez poem about bullshit work being done, and now we are our own undiscovered tribe. The Tao Te Ching is hard to talk about, but would seem to endorse the absent-minded revelation. Mande Zeka said, "We are the grass the wind shakes through." Christopher Smart said, "For the ceiling of the house is an obstacle, and therefore we pray on the housetop." The Santa Dad said, "We are not the ones, oh God, the ones, we are not one." Thanks.
Today that Bob actually, there's a story about the name of this project, this press called Cars Are Real. And it turns out that Bob was, when I was floating names for the press, he was telling me not to name it something. It's like naming it, it'd be like naming it Cars Are Real, which is, he was implying is a bad title, but I misunderstood him. I was like, yeah, Cars Are Real. Fuck yeah, man, that's exactly what I'm Anyway, so next up is one of the Baltimore's polymaths. I just want to thank him for helping me install the show today. So Lester Gonzalez.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks to everybody for coming out. This is really exciting because it's kind of been a huge project, but it's not been that stressful, which is fun. And the books look great. I'm really excited. I spent maybe 30 minutes smelling it last night. So I'm going to read mostly from it. This is it here. It's in the back. And again, thank you for coming. So some of my poems are longer. Some are just short little quips. So do my best to kind of differentiate. But, let's see here. Thinking of you freezing on this floor of sausage, pancakes, my head on Jay-Z's body. Will you be my Beyonce and give me reason to feel warm? I burn sage, maybe frighten loans away. Loud awakens all quiet sleeping dum-dums. Watch as weeping Wi-Fi comes alive. People magazine, color and cellulite seen plainly. People magazine, on sticky pages things made worthless. My God is a pyramid of hot dogs. This one's called Pissing Mouse. Pissing mouse is a drawing on the internet. Beautiful pissing mouse drawn live on chat roulette by they who said it was so ugly. But beautiful drawing of mouse done for me Tuesday, 9:43 p.m. You say it's like a pissing mouse. Pissing mouse is a drawing on the internet. This one's called iPhone. I cry for I do not know the future. Weep, weep with triviality. Boo-hoo, big bamboozling. Onward our best foot forward, on to new things, brandishing new you and forgetful ever slightly so. As daily new you, so tweets become unending showers. I sit at a stone in the pasture, tied to the ground like a flock of geometry towards a painted horizon. I give my life to gravity, a cracked iPhone. Tommy, grazing by kale, eats the flowering buds. This one's called Wild... Oh, I like this one. Cat. Also, my food comes from box. This one's called Wild Berries. I know better than to check on our tomato. Let our love grow like wild berries, thick at the stalk to a gorgeous handful. And if old age bear white-haired wisdom in flash of lightning, may our bright-mindedness let live as kids love with might in our own version of forever. Oh, what precious days to wonder WTF. My bank! I put my bank in a burlap sack, tossed callously into a river, my spinning grin kicking up gravel. This one's called Pandora. Pandora. Let classical be my blank slate, and Pandora will spare my true loves. The old men are hungry for grammar and will say anything for a premium membership. I am a desperate POW moistened with blood my own. Impress me with girlish pre-coming would-be's. Oh, and if I'd let it. What a fuck of light and pugnaciousness would Swiss out me. A mite at the Great Wall. Pandora's box is now untimely dead before exiting my once humbled mouth. I once was a mite at the Great Wall and now hope for a quiet concrete cylinder, a breath removed from a narrated dialogue about the cloud and back to Claire de Lune. This one's called For You. My poem for you, sent telepathically. My poem for you lit you in smiles. The glow of your phone gave me the pleasure. My poem for you is baked into a Triscuit. My poem for you repeats like a dozen plastic beauty marks. My poem for you forgets about flowers. My poem for you skips, maybe gets there. My poem for you is cold and singing for warmth. This next one is called just underscore all the way across, so it's a blank. I imagine people just kind of writing their words into it. So it's just blank. Miso soup and cold anvils. French occult rhythm section of hurried blues. A note-for-note disaster of biblical proportion. A feast on a day of reproachingly tense misfortune. Macabre wells of data and ironic fury. Pour forth your masticated sludge for all your baby birds. I am your soup of ideals. Print me as multiple copies. Oh, Saddam, you rotting celebrity kissing sweet the thighs of Maryland. Of this song, a shaking timbre reigns. In Baltimore, a wizard turns a rat into a dying steer and claims to know no magic. In space, a quiet willow weeps, failing all our imaginations and shared timelines. A willow weeps, for it is a word that weeps, that is willow weeping. A weep of worded order. Born free, a willow was not, and will always kiss your mother's neck as she bequeathed her space to you, and you too become a crying, quiet pasture. My saddest emails born on Tuesdays. The ones from Friday crowding weekend. Counting weekdays, and finally a word is bond, and that word is... Imagine a quiet forest in fog before the invention of man. Lonesome drone that left the nest to die alone. A quiet dinner for 2 iPhones. A web ad for Montana, a moose grazing in the window. Paper fell on the floor, we'll write tomorrow. Imagine facing a caveman that looks like you but is as wild as an animal, and you are just your dad, quiet in the sun. This one's called Fluid Movement. The sound of things is fluid movement. The sound of things is fluid movement. The sound of jealous love is a scaly dragon's breath that makes fall flat the hand that beckons. My flesh mobile, ghost of a soul, you need of the present, it macho ownership of hot fantastic love cast across other bones. This feeling or unfeeling is or isn't really the sound of things as fluid movement. The sound of things is fluid movement. The sound of jealous love is rippling the sacred bedding of the rich and ultra-lovely, but it also rides in my least wealthy heart as a mast of television antennas, moving about in fluid, hurting, movement, building, loving, hurting, building, loving, balding, dying. The sound of things is fluid movement. The sound of things is fluid movement. From the shoehorn to the shoe, the sumptuous tale of desire that ties end to end yet is perpetually undone. The untied shoe at a busy intersection, the minor key, the bow undone. The sound of things is fluid movement. Have a magnet made of this. The sound of things is fluid movement. Get an airbrush t-shirt of this. The sound of things is fluid movement. Make this into a piss in the snow. The sound of things is fluid movement. Cleverly hide this and find again later. The sound of things is fluid movement. This one's called Slimer. Go in that room, freak out, eat a box of cereal, no milk. Show me the old man in me waiting to stay put, always touching the wrong button. A demographic collapsing. No more Slimer shit to sell. The rubber band folding is a universe unfolding. Be here to catch your favorite part and wait, it's gone. And this one is called Philip. It's an Easter poem. Priest, press a primrose, a proper beetle. Golden scarab daunted by the Lord. Make mud tires and sapphires and doilies for baby, an iPad for papa, a charge on platinum for something unknown. A plastic rack from IKEA. Let the church surround us in an aura of Wi-Fi and melanomas, his diamonds of being reveling in saintly melodrama. Lemons, lemons, lemons! Where is God in a lemon? Where is God on Google? What if Google were God? What if you and I were God and we invented us after watching a YouTube tutorial on the creation of life? What if Dina were God? What if Joshua was Michael? What if I were named Richard and everything happened in a completely different story by Philip K. Dick? Tonight I listened to Cypress Hill very faintly so that my roommates wouldn't notice. The crinkling plastic caught a glint of the moon, a reminder of a dream dancing acutely in your hand, the bottle tucked into a bush, our foreheads touching. In the second story window, a server parses data. The vessel carries dyes and corn syrup. This one's called Death. Oh, we all fall down. The children sing Ring Around the Rosie. Grown-ups chatting about skill sets, retirement, toughing it out 60 hours a week, how to sleep at night in continuous service. They preface every other sentence with, unfortunately. This one's called Death Row, Tickle Me Pink. Last meal on death row, tickle me pink. Ask the governor, mayor, and wardens to all come down here and have some of this 200-pound lobster. It was ordained minister of the sea by all of heaven's printing presses. One taste and they'll be out figure drawing, breathing like breezes, lightly toe-tapping a lawless tune. Their kisses goodnight left with smiling wives, and tomorrow a fancy breakfast will pardon all subpar coituses. Destroyer, awaken your godhead. It is no cloud to mine for well-worn wishes. Tickle your own self and laughing will come easy. I'm just going to do a few more and then we'll call it 1 dozen. My ego, the animal, the dog, the mouth, the unresponsive eye, the twitching vessel, the primitive source of plenitude, my awareness of all non-rubber, my awareness of all else that is a sparing doodad, my lonesome moment in the sun, my wholesome lament in former supermarket, the Walmart on that double-wide high street, uncrossable and lamentable. It remains there, but got cancer like the economy of everything, shot down at the height of boredom, and twitched there a vessel for no man or Chinese goods. Ha, 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 sold in boxes of 10 like 12 of broken eggs. Skynet becomes aware like first day masturbation. Thinking of good haiku in Wayne's World. And the book is separated into older material from a few years ago in the back, and then new material in the front with some drawings in the middle, pictographs, sort of like this, like human burrito shitter, or soft couch 1000. New color found. There's a drawing of a fucked up cop car with bones in the so there's like a, there's a mystery. It's a mystery drawing. No, actually, I want to read from from the book that Bob and I worked on together, which is called Birds Blur Together, and it's a collaboration where I sent him poems and he sent me poems and we mushed them around. And so we ended up with these hybrids. This one's called Poem. Ours is a notion left of a city once its inhabitants have ceased to experience it. Struck by an old, dusty, poignant dust broom, overshadowed by the gigantic effigies of executives' penises that are left littering our skyline. Our city builds mud dwellings now and gives them to ants and locusts and rabbits that dig down further and call our old world a plain old rabbit hole. Our city's books have left a bunch of powder to do nothing with. The mayor is a proud bone rock that props up a gnarly, rotting Prius. His teeth in silent declaration and cooing and tremor. There must be new growth. Preservation of old growth depends on what material you were tossed together from, thunders a Brian Wilson god. You must remember to choose the plainest Hawaiian shirt upon your entrance to the netherworld. And the former execs who once ape-like smeared their dicks upon the clouds are there as feeble old people. That is until they remember they can profit from your skull and shuffle over to work a deal. Small children don't live here. They're out kissing crushes. It may be too late to be anything but a traveling dart. What can I do but want secretly a new Cretaceous, in search of an honest predator? And if the volume of wind then is the same as now, then what then? And if I never find it, and you, will you be haunted by never again seeing a new movie at the movies? Will you live with me in an antique log dream where Lincoln makes us pancakes? We'll imagine our city and declare it its own city, and in not destroying each other, we will create a new capital. And then these are just a couple more, and I'm very thankful that you guys are here, and I'm thankful to Alex for putting all of this together. Thank you so much. These are some short ones. Red Lobster. Your redness encases me as if I am dying heroically. Sizzlers, I wholly believed in you, and as of yet have not convinced my father. Arby's, somewhere I missed your letters, are you sure? Wendy's, your skin is salted by some boy's dreaming. Burger King, somewhere I chose to go. Subway's footlong ball and chain. And this one called Learning. What a down upgrade, I could say in tears. All bass lines sound flat. My ape's heart found cold, my brain in a lab coat in the next room, and smiles contently at the cruelty of it all. His experiments all failed this afternoon. This could be learning because it sucks. And this last one, I like it because I've been listening to a lot of Willie Nelson, so it's a poem to Willie Nelson. It's called Willie. I want white angelic wisps to wreathe as heavy whiskers, a beacon altimeter in the purple glow of eternal ignorance. Even mamas lie, and all and I and friends have been our civil wars of do's and don'ts, and cancer-friendly gloom over easy. Every breakfast after rings of pain. Let fear become a radiant circus. History is made through pain, and faultless we fall, tepid, empty. A lump of reptoid plastic snuck into our temples on pride alone. Willie, take us with you. Before your meme, ring the end of physical you and the beginning of Roman god nostalgia, gray, chained to a ball of yarn and the immaterial. Our stay in Pompeii has always been our story. Willie, Buddha of baptism, the temple of Jupiter with Vesuvius in the distance. We'll meet you on the lawn. Thanks again.
Is everybody feeling comfortable? I hope you guys are feeling comfortable. The other concept for this show is maximum comfort. We're going to have beach ball, weed areas. All right, thank you all for coming out again. Next up is a really special guest from Pittsburgh. Her name's Laura. Laura Warman. Welcome.
It's about what happened at the Ross Park Mall yesterday at 3 p.m. One, Madonna. Whenever I talk to anyone about Madonna, they say I don't know anything about her. If I didn't see her performance at the VMAs, where she pops out of a wedding cake to Like a Virgin, that performance changed everything. She was so scared, people were so mad. I just looked it up, and that was in 1984. None of us were even alive then. No one cares, but I still love Madonna. Okay, I just finished watching the video of her performance on YouTube, and holy shit, you haven't seen anything until you have seen that video. I have never been turned on by a music video performance until I saw Madonna writhing on the floor, putting tulle up her vagina. Also, she didn't pop out of a wedding cake. Who told me that? 3:20. Yes, yes, in the coffee shop reading poetry. I am not crying. I guarantee I have all the same diseases every great poet has, but keep saying no to the chemicals. They have not studied what they will do to me. The only chemical I try is every sort of birth control, different doses, different pleasurable results. My skin is so clear, and Margaret can know this college-educated white woman will not be reproducing till she has a career. I want to see the Hunger Games again. 4:08. This is a true story. I'm going to wear this color bottom with this sort of top. It was 99 cents. We should go thrift shopping. We would be richer. There are no handles on this door. That's how mine is too. Zip me up. Is it really that tight? I can't get out. Mine's like that too. Awkward. Like this, you can see my 4:09. What does the inside of an eye socket look like? Black. Maybe the suburbs are paradise. All of these SUVs of men in suits stop at the salad bar and try to tell me chivalry is dead. No respect for women, so show your titties, hon. 4 again. Does poetry mean as little as some people think? The time is Wednesday. He is here, the tall one, with the dark hair. Yesterday it was the short one, with the brown hair. She said there is a pronoun problem in poetry. I just want to see where your mind goes when I say they came. I came last night after being gone for a while. I came covered in dog hair. I did not care if you came. I wanted to sleep. 4:12. Stop trying to jiggle my infected clit. Did you ask the clit what he thought about consent? The clit is not a machine to be. Where are you trying to go? Clit says he has felt metal too many times this month, but blood not enough clit juice. No one wanted the clit when he thought he got the disease. The clit spent a lot of time thinking about World War II. Now he only says no to the 4 question mark. Why is there a dead dog in here? Fuck, did we just with a dead dog? Not used to being poor, so I bought the organic pork and the sprouted pork tortillas. Said he is the most attracted to people who are mean to him. I chose that line break there, maybe. This is my most successful meditation today. 4:26. I get paid $11.92 an hour to bag your groceries. that warrants one ass grab per month or 2 touches on the shoulder? Who would you marry for $1? Who would you marry for $10? How much would you pay to get fired from the organic grocery store? How much do you charge to check out your ass in the suburbs with your wedding ring? I charge a little less. America's healthiest grocery store, how should I stand? Like that? Yes. $5.13. Prior studies have been contradictory, with computers usually winning in lab experiments and people winning in natural settings. In ideologically conservative areas of the U.S., supermarket shoppers tend to prefer established brands over generic substitutes. Companies led by CEOs who have large signatures perform worse than ones led by CEOs with small signatures. Workers don't like to feel crowded. I see Gen Y not just as a challenge, therefore, but as a great opportunity. We all shop at Target, but who is Mr. Target? Relief from life without parole. In the end, it was as mundane and meaningless as this. He threw his soup, and they killed him. Is there anything sillier in life than to be called Pablo Neruda? 5:15. Is it too late for me to bring up Jay-Z, or that teens actually do not know who Mick Jagger is? Yesterday, all the poets were saying, never talk about a poem inside a poem, like a college student. But it is already too late for that, and for me. The nails are purple, the birds have been out for hours. We are all 20-something women. Watching Girl Code, don't be that girl. Crushes make the world go round. Tequila gets you pregnant. There is nothing left but 705 channels. Use that remote, not that remote. Tomorrow poetry will be over, but today it is still alive. So if you forget after the end, it meant something, but not as much as the Ross Park Mall, or that we are all 20-something women, and we are going to that bar instead of that bar because it is too crowded. Or should we turn that around? It is too late for everything except the Mall of America, open Monday through Friday till 9:30, not 10. I never wanted to write poetry. I just wanted to back that ass up. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Laura. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Next up is a writer from New York. His name is Josef Kaplan. Joseph, what can I say about Joseph? So apparently, Marx, whenever Marx didn't understand something, he would say, "Oh, that's dialectical." Like that was a word that he used when he was confused about something. He's like, "Oh, it's so."
I'm just going to read a section of a piece that's not that book, because that book is mostly it's just a list of names, really. And so reading it doesn't really have, I mean, it has like maybe roughly the same effect of reading it aloud is roughly the same effect of reading it in the book. So I'm going to read another piece. This is a section from a longer piece called Shoot Kids in the Head. To have it happen, but to have it not be considered tragedy, at least not in the traditional sense, the way in which one senses form in drama as human suffering, as a form that invokes in its audience an accompanying pleasure or catharsis it cannot be, because suffering is irrelevant to the act itself. That is, it creates no suffering, at least not in the form of the moment itself, at least not in its principles, meaning at least not the children. They don't suffer. Not in that precise moment, unless we imagine suffering as existing beyond our ability to perceive or register it as such, as with the fear that though we might, after our expiration, appear dead in every way to friends and family and medical professionals, when we are in fact fact not dead, but living in a sense, conscious underneath that appearance, left with all senses, both physical and mental, but simultaneously absent the will and motor control necessary to express that sense, to move a hand or open our mouths and exclaim or signal our distress at being cut open, pumped full of embalming fluids, dressed, then buried, and worse, that this sense persists past the resolutions of the body, so that our sense carries us through in utter horror, the steady annihilation of our corpus as it is worn down and away by the onset of moisture, by the weight of gravity and time and insects whose small bodies and mindless purpose grant them access to any material thing eventually. Destroyers, all of them, and us receptive now only to pain and the poor gift of conceptualization set now to the task of imagining ourselves screaming loudly and forever into the gaudy cushions of the casket and the wet dark earth above. But this is not death. Death, as we imagine it, is an end to suffering, an edge across which the fine call of pain that passes always over the touch and whisper of life disintegrates into the air, and its speed of decay so suddenly now the total bend of sense being also maybe finally absolute and external. But death is in this moment not imagined, though it might be later by friends and family and medical professionals, but not now, in this moment, where the bullet, sized approximately 0.224 inches or 5.7 millimeters at its diameter and housed in a 5.56 millimeter by 45 millimeter cartridge, the same external dimensions of a NATO military cartridge, but not actually itself a NATO military cartridge, instead a 223 Remington cartridge, pronounced either 223 or 223, weighing between 40 and 90 grains, or if you prefer 2.6 to 5.8 grams, though most likely weighing 55 grains, as this is the most common loading by far, slides easily past hair, skin, and muscle before shattering one or more of the 8 cranial bones encasing the brain. The bone, grown of calcium, sodium, phosphorus, and collagen, is too fragile to deter the momentum of the lead cone traveling at, or even faster than 3,200 feet per second, the awesome speed making the force of the projectile devastating, even at its minuscule size, and the bone resistant and effective until now against events as various as a tumble from the top bunk of a 2-tiered bed, or the impact of a baseball or a stone, or the slight pat of a palm, comes apart and caves into the connective tissue and fibrous membranes that cushion the brain, and then deeper into the cerebrospinal fluid, the body's equivalent of shock absorbers that protect against the injury conceivably caused by the rate at which the head is now flipping forward much quicker than it would normally due to the shock of the impact of the bullet that is still at this moment traveling so fast that its speed exceeds the speed at which the tissues that bind together the child's head tear, so that the bullet in this moment in time is actually not ripping but pushing tissues out of its way, as if engaged in an unstudied pantomime of a determined but considerate pedestrian who's come upon a great crowd in their city center, and with the rushed air of one who is late for an appointment, an air that conveys that person's anxiousness to arrive, how they hold it proceed, embarrassment that taxes the relief of making the engagement at all, despite this sudden obstacle, gently shoves aside the bodies of the onlookers gathered to gawk at what could be an automobile accident, or a circus, or a downed plane, or a concert, or a presentation being given by a young woman and her partner on the healing effects of an elixir handed down generation to generation to her mother by her mother's mother and her mother's mother's mother before her, made available now for the first time to the general public to aid them in their troubles with virility, or in a struggle against the common cold, or anything else, all to similar effect, the pedestrian muttering inconsequential requests for pardon to no particular person, but to the idea that any person may take offense at the unexpected brush of a hand on their shoulder, or their back, or their arm, or their elbow, muttering things like, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, thank you, sorry, excuse me, yes, sorry, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, thank you, sorry, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, sorry, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, I'm sorry, excuse me, just a second, yes, sorry, excuse me, pardon me, I've got to get by, excuse me, pardon me, on your left, excuse me, pardon me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, pardon me, excuse me, I'm sorry, excuse me, on your left, excuse me, I'm just coming by, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, pardon me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, and succeeding in moving these bodies aside without incident and fashioning a path through the crowd, though not a direct one that might part all at once and in strict file as if effectuated by the singular will of a controlling entity, a god or spirit, or by a collective spiritual will, one that stretches between the individual minds and bodies that comprise the crowd but remain themselves separate from it until this moment, uncannily coordinated and beautiful maybe for being so, ties them together and eliminates the crowd as such, folding it into the discreteness of its being named. No. It's instead a path that travels like an air bubble, edging upwards toward the surface of a lake, the water around the bubble expanding in concert with its approach and contracting at its subtle passing, the bullet now stretching the tissues of the child's pathetic, injured head beyond the length at which they would normally split and dragging them by its tip through the frayed tunnel of its visit like some vaunted trophy, some flag or cup suddenly won and held aloft by the rippling arms of a champion, pumping into the cool air of the morning to the labored rhythm of his or her breathing, ecstatic in this moment of triumph at having maybe completed some unheard of accomplishment, some physical exertion that proves the limits to which the human body may be exploited as existing at a point further, if even imperceptibly so, past the horizon at which we previously believed them deferred to. Someone like Usain Bolt, whose last name happily recalls the term used to describe the ammunition fitted to a crossbow, a bow mounted on a stock, the basic conception of which predates the notion of a gun, and that they both rely on the penetrating effects of cylindrical objects, launched at extraordinary speeds and directed into the comparatively slight physical defenses of the human body, any human body, even Usain's, whose arms tense and febrile from the effort of running 100 meters in an astonishing 9.58 seconds in Berlin in 2009, and his relief at this victory, the exhaustion mixed with the vindication felt at the adulatory reaction of the crowd fully aware of and awed by the devotion necessary to shape and temper the body in order to meet the fantastic effort required to produce that performance. They, Hussein's arms might drop, his banner and buckle, clutching at his body in shock at having been struck by this anachronistic weapon fired randomly and without warning from somewhere within the crowd, its bolt connecting with his right gleaming chest, or the back of his neck, or his head, like this bullet, which will likely exit through the face at the front of the child's head, blasting it apart before the tissues of that face, the child's face, have a chance themselves to rend and be destroyed. But before even that, the bullet reaches the prefrontal cortex and then the hippocampus, tunneling through them and taking with it all sense of memory, both the child's memories as they exist, housed in the neural mesh of that junction of the brain, and also all possibility for memory as such, future or otherwise, though, of course, it doesn't matter much now, as the bullet passes finally through to the world at the front of the face with the banner of war streaming out behind it, as if, again, in victory, the gore flapping as only the flag of a conqueror flaps, flown following a decisive and well-won battle when the forces of the new regime, now uncontested, become free to make of symbolic use the city and its structures, its squares and statues, people and history, as when Marine Corporal Edward Chin of the American 1st Tank Battalion, 1st Marine Division attached to the 3rd Battalion Flint Marines, having, in April of 2003, entered and secured Firdos Square in Baghdad, climbed a ladder to the top of the statue of Saddam Hussein, originally erected in April of 2002, in honor of the 65th birthday of Saddam Hussein, then the 5th president of Iraq, and placed an American flag over the statue's face before quickly removing it after the act elicited obvious disapproval from the gathered crowd of Iraqi civilians. He replaced it first with an Iraqi flag and then with a chain which he wrapped around the statue's neck and attached to an M88 recovery vehicle in order to drag the statue down off its pedestal to the ground. Afterwards, the gathered crowd of Iraqi civilians fell upon the statue and cut its head off and dragged the decapitated head through the streets of Baghdad, pelting into its shoes as it tumbled behind them, the head in this state, inert and not even that heavy, pulled worthlessly at the form of the crowd, the form as it appears in memory, abstractly, as animated gore, as the tissue of the child's face, drawn forward and tugging likewise against the small, smooth bolt of the bullet until finally snapping, as it must, as all things must finally submit to the settled law of the world, and whipping back into the cavity that leads now back into the child's head, at least what's left of it, to spill out from where the bullet entered, and this as if stumbling clumsily into a mistaken and disfigured image of its past. Then the head collapses. Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. That was awesome. Thank you. Next up is Alicia Pugliese. She is a historian of science. She wrote a remarkable, impressive book that I really recommend. I mean, I recommend you getting all of them, but her book is like a tour de force, and for it to be released in this fashion, I think is just a testament to the talent in Baltimore. So, Alicia, thanks.
Thanks for sticking around, everyone. And thanks, Alex, for doing this. I totally wouldn't have written this if you hadn't suggested maybe writing something long. I'm just going to read not very much. There's sort of a preamble to this book. Actually, no, there's a historical note and then there's a preamble. So I'm going to skip the historical note. So this is very loosely about Karl Krahl, the German animal psychologist. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Clever Hans, the mathematical horse, of course, the math treatment. Yeah, so he's in here. So it's kind of like historical fiction. Yeah. So this is Maurice Maeterlinck's History of Men and Horses, and Maeterlinck would write about the sort of Clever Hans affair about 5 years after it all went down, from a sort of historical perspective. I'm okay with not being very loud. Yeah. This is a new dubious amazement. We see each day new bulwarks against rise. This is a bulwark, my speaking contingent. A story can be instructive. False intelligence, a recent parade of misrepresentations. Menagerie includes arithmetic. Try 20,000 years. Try every morning before dawn. And evolution parallel along this axis. We should probably work today. We are not bromeliads that drink from the air. The starved carcass of a horse and a man are often observed together. You can see these headlines. Sensation dictates that horses traditionally mute should use the chalkboard for impressing dignitaries. But what do you think, really? Skeptical. Are they trustworthy? Dignity. Like, what's the deal with men of science slumming at the freak show? I, here, sage of Europe, Maeterlinck, but also genuine passion to determine cosmic truths of unity or not. Disunity, terrible forever isolation, will produce reportage, reveal experiences had by me and trustworthy sources, and signify not the falsehood, or the jargon, or the conspiracy, to keep you entertained at expense of attention to large geopolitical situations. Behold, at Elberfeld, von Osten, old misanthrope, obsessed by one idea, the intelligence of animals. As if from Homeric time, wily horse Hans, smuggling in language through unsuspecting city gates, purported gift, purported curse upon trickster, taught with a frenzied obstinacy, Von O hoping to prove something before undistinguished death, before lights out on his mildly deranged way of perceiving world. More crowd in to grimy courtyard for horse performance, witnessing basic arithmetic, and disgruntled showman Von O smacks horse with newspaper, never carries the ones, carrot for recovering from near miss. Keep tapping your cardinal directions, Hans. First clown car full of investigatory apparatus, 1904. Psychologists unload and putter around, making the withers of Hans quake with performance anxiety. Von O, surly in his threadbare greatcoat. Nothing to hide, they see, not capable of guile because not smart enough to trick university men. So, inconclusive, but back in the lab, suspicious grad student Oscar Funks, not no less obligated to take seriously gentleman amateurs' honorable testimony, scrutinizes work of superiors, moribund in good faith old world credulity. He disembarks at Elberfeld knowing already how it is done. Voluminous and crushing report issued to great relief of thinking horse-fearing public. It does not think. Unconscious science emanate from Von O, telling when for Hans to open mouth, shoot in belly, and spill out guts of rampaging solutions. Here we pause, for devastated Von O, who dies in disrepute, has an heir, improbable friend through his troubles, who slyly learns his methods. Elegant, refined scion of illustrious jewelry manufacturer, intellectual, slim fingers, well-read and gracious, actually pleasant to be around, smart guy and good with horses. Karl Krahl inherits clever Hans and the burden of proof, retreats to spacious mansion of ironclad facts. So that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. You have all the background knowledge that you will need to navigate this book. And I'm just going to read one more brief section that is an experience of the real Karl Krahl, who was born in 1915 in Graz, Austria, and immigrated to Chicago, USA in 1925. And so this is Chicago, 1926. Why is Karl Krahl gentle? The insect world is neither gentle nor cruel. It really doesn't know the difference. And due to this fact, Krahl is gentle. A mosquito will not understand your malice. It will only be crushed and die. Karl Krahl was carried off by ants at a young age. It happened slowly. His surroundings became slightly unfamiliar. More of himself became visible in proportions not anticipated by standard human anatomy texts. What occurred was reduplication. He sat on the cool rocks by the side of the man-made lake with its many pavilions, and ants slowly carried him away to Pavilion 8, which they had reserved, and presented an original play or pageant about the hilariously limited compass of human awareness. It began with a human stepping on an anthill and experiencing persistent but inchoate feelings of regret. It went on to portray a human with an inexplicable sensation of itching, a human with ants tattooed all over her body, and an ant hopelessly in love with a human who could not discern the frequency of the ant's voice. Krahl clapped politely at the end of the production as the ants took a bow and then died, to be replaced by a new generation of ants equally well endowed with a hardwired behavioral repertoire to play their given roles with gusto. It could have been an alliteration. Seeing this, the young and impressionable Krahl fell into a reverie, and his family had to resort to searching the park with a rented bloodhound, which led them to Pavilion 8 just in time to collect Krahl as the park gates locked, and to stop at the omelet stand on the way home, where Krahl ate a ham and cheese omelet unsurpassed by any he would encounter in the remaining decades of his life. At this point, he became an entomologist. And that is all I'm going to ask you to listen to today.
All right, thank you so much for coming out. The books are on sale, all of them for, we're doing a sliding scale, $7 to $15. So pick them up. And thank you again. Thanks, Current, for having us.
Yeah,